Hi, everyone, and welcome to IDG Live. This is my Christmas charity live stream. It'll be a little bit different to other live streams, as in it's not just me. There's a lot of other very special guests I've got who I will introduce in just one moment. But broadly speaking, what this is a chance to raise a little bit of money for a charity that is very close to my heart, which is Alzheimer's. Support for those with Alzheimer's and support for those who are supporting those with Alzheimer's. There should be a link somewhere on your screen to that. So if you would normally do a super chat or something like that, then you can't do that. You can, however, donate. So please be as generous as you are able. If for whatever reason you can't, because YouTube has not enabled your charitable donations in your territory, then I've put a link down in the description for somewhere that you can go and donate to. But this is an open Q&A, and I have got a wonderful selection of people to introduce you to, some of whom you may know, some of whom you may not, but here they are. And what a beautiful selection that they are. So I will allow them to introduce themselves, actually. Let's go in a sort of rough clockwise, starting with Nikki. Who are you?
Hey guys, I'm Nikki. I am from Norway. I'm an actress, and also absolutely obsessed with Tolkien. I am one of the OGs from Fellowship of Fans, Council of Fans, and that's how I met all of these lovely humans. And apart from that, I make children's movies and I make content on Instagram and social media, and I make films in general. So that's a little bit about me.
Excellent. Welcome. Is this your first time on the channel? I can't remember. Did you come on before?
I think maybe a very short one. I think we did an interview back in the days, but that's a long time ago. So this is my first time doing this. It's just cool.
Awesome. Well, you are very welcome. Helen, I know it's not your first time on the channel. Who are you?
I'm a reindeer.
You're a reindeer. Excellent. Shall we move swiftly on to Harry? Harry, are reindeer real or just imaginary fantastical beasts?
Yes. So first of all, hi, nice to see everyone in chat and to be on again. I'm Harry from I guess the creator of Fellowship of Fans. Met Nikki and everyone. Same story as well with Robert, Helen, and first time meeting Aziz, which is really, really nice. And yeah, so we did meet up the other day, and the funny thing is, I think the context for why Helen is particularly wearing reindeer antlers is because I very recently found out that reindeers are in fact real, which is, I always thought they were mythical beasts.
3 days ago or so.
I promise you that's not a test of my intelligence at all. I still will be able to give good answers. But yeah, I did. That's the context for that. So yeah, excited.
Absolutely you are. A good friend and an excellent runner of Fellowship of Fans. Helen, I apologise. I sort of cut you off before you managed to introduce yourself a little bit further because I thought the joke was too good. Did you want to add anything else?
No, I'm a reindeer.
You're a reindeer. Okay, that is
Are you sure you're real?
Aziz, who are you?
Well, hang on. In America, we're taught that Helen is the name of the reindeer that got kicked out to make room for Rudolph. So yeah,
right.
So I'm backing her up basically in this whole reindeer claim. Yeah, my name's Aziz, and I'm the guy on History of Westeros podcast, and I love Tolkien also, but my focus is A Song of Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones, and I'm feeling good about helping this charity out today because I have a cat in my lap, and that's everybody knows that's a big help to such things.
Absolutely is. So yeah, welcome one and all. I should probably say if you are seeking the usual just me talking and sort of doing deep dives into things, that will return in the new year. We're just today it's a little bit more relaxed. We've got questions as always from my patrons, and as I've got some experts going on here. Another cat has appeared. A cat sitting on a reindeer. It would
need
appear.
more cats.
I have no cats, so we 2 might be the maximum we get to. But let's start with a quick question. I'm going to throw actually to Aziz, which is Corvus Corax is asking whether I have read the combined Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons, and what is my thoughts of the experience. Now, Aziz, I haven't. So, for those who don't know, A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons, they're books 4 and 5, technically, in A Song of Ice and Fire. But really, they're one book that George R. R. Martin kind of split into 2, not in chronological order, but he took some of the characters and put them into one book, and some of the other characters and put them into another book. So they're sort of carrying on roughly at the same time. Now, some clever people have tried to squash them together into one big book, so that everything does go along in a sort of chronological order. I've not read it like that, but Aziz, you strike me as the kind of guy who might have done.
I have, yeah. It's pretty fun. I don't recommend it for your first time, but the way I can explain it from a high level is the themes and connective tissue between a lot of the stories is what you get by reading it in the intended order. But in terms of the way the story flows, it sticks to certain locations more and has more. It's more geared towards an exciting story. So once you have a better handle on the world and what the themes that George was trying to imply, and if you have that all set in your mind, then it kind of works to have the more arranged story, exciting version, which wasn't what George was aiming for, but it works pretty well. So yeah, I think it's a fun experience. It's a very unusual thing to have an option for. Like, I've never heard of such a thing in any other series where he's like, hey, you know what, maybe change the order a little bit, and it's also really fun. Never heard of such a thing, but yeah, it's fun. It's a big investment because you're still reading 2 books worth of stuff, but if you're a Song of Ice and Fire fan, rereading is a regular thing anyway. So yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good way to mix things up too. Just a different experience.
Absolutely, and yeah, they're not just 2 books; they're 2 actually quite big books. It has to be said, particularly Dungeons and Dragons is quite a massive one.
It's the biggest.
Yeah, I was re-listening to it recently. I think it comes in listening hours to about 50, or maybe a touch under that. It was.
I have the exact numbers in just a moment here.
Oh well, this is.
Proceed. You can proceed in the meantime if you want.
In Germany, they actually split every book into 2 books, so he makes even more money with us Germans.
Huh.
Dance with Dragons is 2,922 minutes, and Storm of Swords is 2,854 and a half. So it's about
okay.
It's about about 1 chapter less worth.
Yeah, and the Winds of Winter will be bigger yet. So we've got that. Hopefully to look forward to. A.D. Ross was asking a slightly broader question, asking whether I know the works of China Mieville, which is a name I've never known exactly how to pronounce, because it seems like a French name, but then he's very much English as far as I know. I've read 2 of them. I've read Perdido Street Station and The City in the City. The latter, fantastic book, definitely love it in particular. But the question is, what other, although all the 3 main things I cover on this channel are all kind of medieval fantasy, what other kind of historical settings do we think there needs to be more fantasy worlds based on? So, for example, I'll kind of kick off. Wouldn't it be really cool to have more kind of like, it might be just because I've been there quite recently, kind of Venice, kind of Renaissance, kind of that kind of world fantasy kind of stuff going on. Because there's a lot of medieval fantasy, and it would be really cool to have other things. Where should we go? Nikki, why don't we start with you? What would you, if you had to pick another kind of context for a fantasy world, what would it be?
Well, I really like what you were saying, like sort of like Assassin's Creed, it's the kind of different kind of medieval. I'm a big fan of, the Lord of the Rings with the nature and the castles and the mountains and all of that. But I do also really like the idea of, you know, desert landscapes and harsher, sort of more scorched nature in a way. So not so lush, not so green, but a little bit heavier. Kind of like if you take one of my favorite books, The Alchemist, and turn the environment of The Alchemist, sort of Morocco area, all of the deserty in Spain and all of that, and turn that more medieval. I would love to see more of that.
Yeah, no, that's cool. The Alchemist Paulo Coelho is a fantastic story. Very mystical wise as well as kind of fantastical, which is good. Harry, what about you?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And I think with a lot of the, I guess, historical, medieval and fantasy settings, and when we look at England, it always comes in around after the Romans came over. And there's that little period beforehand. I think there's actually one show that just touched on it a little bit. I didn't really like it that much, but it was called Britannia. And I think that mystical period of England just before the Romans, I think it's Emperor Claudius came over, and then you had the stuff with the Druids. It's before the English monarchy was fully established and the lineage of kings. And I think that little period where we actually don't know too much about, and that's where more of that fantastical and mythical element can come in. Because when we do look at historical and medieval stuff, it normally comes in, around William the Conqueror, and afterwards throughout the whole that standard medieval setting. So I think setting it a bit before that within England, I think there's a lot to explore there. So I know it's still sticking back to the primary area, but I still think pushing it back a bit to that time period where England was a very, very different place would be pretty cool.
Absolutely. You've got a couple of ideas in the chat. Egyptian fantasy, says Christy Monith. And what else? The Irish clans by Some People Call Me Morris.
Recent Hugo series winner for the best series in the Hugos is a great example, which is Black.
So which one?
Black Sun, the Between Earth and Sky series by Rebecca Roanhorse. It's pre-Columbian South America, so you've got obsidian blades and lots of attention to the movement of stars and different. There's no lions or tigers, but there's jaguars, and there's still crows and a deep connection to nature in different ways. It's really good. It's really the reason it won Best Hugo. So that's a great example, I think.
Cool. Helen, I know you read around a lot. What's your thought?
I totally subscribe to Egypt. I'm obsessed right now with learning everything about Mesopotamia and that whole timeline. So I'd like to go back in time, but even Egypt, I find it super fascinating. And even when I was a little girl, that was my first fascination, pharaohs in Egypt. So I think more of that, please. I also love The Witcher because I'm a bit East European, so I just like that vibe there, which is very different from England. It's it's all Europe, but it is very different, and I think this is also part of why I like The Witcher so much, because of all the superstition, and everybody who knows me knows I'm like so superstitious. I don't give shoes to people. I don't wear red in certain on certain occasions and stuff, and I love that. So yeah, I think fantasy in that setting works very well.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think it's very. I mean, Lord of the Rings and A Song of Ice and Fire are very kind of like Western European medieval. The Witcher. It's only when you really start digging into it more and you get the more Eastern European, particularly Polish kind of mythologies that are coming out there, which means there's a lot of the same kind of fairy tales and folklore that we would get in West. I say we. 80% of us here. I mean, I don't know, Helen, whether you count as Western European, but sort of the more Western European kind of folklore is slightly different to the more Eastern European folklore, with slightly different stories and slightly different feel to the stories we've got going on.
Mm.
Right, let's Green Lantern's podcast here. It's like a great fantasy story every time I look into Harry's eyes. So wow, there we go. Let's get to we'll move on swiftly before he gets too embarrassed by that one. Let's go to a question from who do we have? Actually, AD Ross. I'll do you a quick plug. You did mention at the very end of this, I don't know, they wanted me to plug it, saying you dabbled in a bit of Weird West, and my short story Grandfather Rot appeared on the excellent podcast Tales to Terrify last year, episode 628, February in 2024. So shout out to that podcast and to you, AD Ross, if you want to go and check that one out, please do. But I've got another Aziz question. This is from Flame G, asking about the Pact of Ice and Fire, which, for those who aren't aware, this was the name given to the agreement. It happened in the Dance of the Dragons. It's sort of blink and you miss it, really, in House of the Dragon, in the very opening scene of season 2, when you get Jacaerys, who comes up and meets Cregan Stark, and the outcome of all of this is that Cregan joins and the Starks join the war on Team Black. However, they come to an agreement that Jacaerys' daughter, when he has one, is going to be marrying the son of Cregan Stark, and that becomes known as the Pact of Ice and Fire. That never happens because, obviously, spoilers, Jacaerys dies. Now, moving forward, a lot of people think, okay, Ice and Fire as a phrase doesn't happen all that much in A Song of Ice and Fire in the wider world, surprisingly little, actually. Is this therefore important? So the question, Aziz, I think I'm going to throw this one to you. Is there a link between that pact and sort of the prophecies and what's going on with Rhaegar, Lyanna, and Jon? Is there some kind of prophetic link going on there? Is it just a cool name coincidence?
I think it's a little of both, because the idea is that that's what the maesters or historians called it. It's not called that in world, and that's a common enough thing in A Song of Ice and Fire, is to have the fandom has, or the maesters have, nicknames for something that are ubiquitous, or the dominant name for something, and that the in world is never used. And so Ice and Fire is a good example of that, as well as the Pact of Ice and Fire, as you say, both those terms and that specific example. So yeah, I don't think it has. I don't know that it has like direct connection in world, but definitely has a lot of thematic connection. The book Fire and Blood is obviously a history book written in world by maesters, but it's also really comes off as a testing ground for a lot of his ideas. They are either supposed to echo what comes later, give history a feel of repeating itself, and that is, I think, what this falls into, because nothing, as you say, nothing comes of it. They don't. There's no dragon there. There's no eggs there. Like those are all theories, and if they turn out to be true, then that would change the picture. But there doesn't seem to be. Those seem to be even treated as just in world as the kind of fairy tales or fanciful stories that would get passed around only because they're so fanciful sounding, and not really because there's a lot of merit to them. But yeah, you gotta. It's fun to entertain the possibility that there's some connection between, say, Sarah Snow and future events, or that we're supposed to read into what happened there as a key clue to what's going to happen later.
Absolutely, yeah. I think I would agree with all of that. I'm going to assume, guys, that although you between you have watched and read various bits of Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire, that you're not wishing to weigh in on the nerdier Song of Ice and Fire questions. But if that's wrong, then just jump in, by the way. So don't feel I'm excluding you and I'm throwing the stuff to Aziz. I will just very briefly sort of pause on the questions, though, to do a couple of quick bits of thanks. First of all, moderators, Thank you. You are the best. Honestly, you are. If you have been coming here all year and in the chat watching this live, the reason why it's such a happy and uplifting and safe place to be sharing your views is because the moderators do such a fantastic job. So if you are there watching this live in the chat, could you just show the moderators a bit of love? Thank you so much. Also, patrons, I always say this, but thank you. I cannot do what I do without your support. So thank you very much. And while I'm doing these kinds of things, this is a charity live stream. If you wish to show your appreciation for what we're saying, for all of the beautiful antlers that we're wearing, for whatever's happened through the year, just because you're feeling Christmassy, then could you, instead of doing a super chat or super thanks or anything like that, please do make a donation. It's for Alzheimer's support. It's a fantastic charity and a fantastic cause. So please do be as generous as you can. Right, I will throw a rando question. Well, Aziz, I don't know what he's doing. He's looking completely the wrong. Don't worry, Aziz. You do you.
I'm digging for treasure. Looking for my own horns to put on. You know, I have some horns somewhere.
Feel free. I'll throw to other people.
He's looking for the winds of winter.
Yeah. If it's there somewhere behind Aziz, then I would be on that plane straight away. I can tell you. Right. What's the best TV show or film or book that you've watched or read this year? I will start by saying the thing which I thought I was going to like, and I liked a whole lot more than I was expecting, was Squid Game Part 3. I thought it was excellent. I thought they rounded off the show really well. It didn't get as much praise as I thought it was going to get. I thought it was really good, and it's a surprisingly rare thing on TV shows to go away just feeling completely satisfied that yes, that finished off that story in a really good way. So let's, Harry, why don't we go to you? What's the best thing you've seen or read this year?
So if we're going a bit outside the box, I think for television this year, there's been a few cool things, and I think one thing is the Peacemaker show. So that's the DC One stars with John Cena, and it's all part of the DC universe. But I just thought the first season was so great, and it was season 2 of that show, and I think yeah, it was really entertaining. It was by James Gunn as well, who did Guardians of the Galaxy, Superman, film, etc. And yeah, no, I think I really enjoyed it. John Cena, he was incredible in it, and yeah, it's really interesting, despite of course all the news about what's happening with Warner Brothers, with Netflix or Paramount. That aside, it'll be interesting to see where the DC universe is going. And just a side thing, I've been watching a lot of crime thrillers, like whodunit type things, but there's a few of them, so I won't bore everyone with all the names, but I've been into that a lot this year as well, like pretending to be a little detective. So yeah, those are the main things for me.
Awesome. Helen, how about you?
I'm really just trying. I don't even know what year it is. I'm just trying to. I think I really liked Andor best this year.
Andor.
Think so. Andor was this year, no? I'm confused.
Was it
I don't
this
even
year?
know
I
what
can't
day.
remember either. It was excellent, though. I would agree. I don't know if it was this year or not. Had a couple of people in the chat mention Andor too.
Yeah, okay. And I really like Foundation. So we're just now on season 3, season 2, whatever. I really enjoy Foundation. Good show.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Awesome. Nikki, how about you?
I've been trying to think, like, my brain at this time of the year is so frazzled from doing all the things that I'm doing. Honestly, are we talking films and stuff that came out this year or that I saw this year for the first time?
Whatever you want.
Maybe it's one of your animated films. Could be one of those.
Yeah, I could name drop and be like, no, you know what? We made the best films of the year. But no, I actually discovered an interesting film series that I have never seen before. I'm a big fan of horror. And I discovered this series called Hell House LLC, which is basically it's a free movie that's on YouTube, the first one, and then they made a series, and then I think the last two were in the theaters. But the first one, Hell House LLC, was fantastic, and I really enjoyed that. I thought it was great. And then I saw Longlegs, which is also a really good horror, and I am dying to watch Weapons because I've heard so many good things about it. Apart from that, I would say probably Avatar Ash and Fire, because I saw that yesterday, 2 days ago, and it was an experience, to say the least. We saw it in IMAX. It was the only cinema in Norway that was handpicked by James Cameron to have like a pre-screening, and it was in 3D, and it was just an epic experience. Like, you can say the story is sort of similar. I guess it's like along the similar lines. It follows a what do you call it, a recipe, but it is great, and it introduces some fantastic characters, and it's just stunning. So I really enjoyed that one.
Awesome. Aziz, I will go to you, but first of all, I spotted in the chat Maura Lee. Great to see you, by the way, Maura. Hope you're having a wonderful festive time of year. She did ask, Aziz, which cat do you have on your lap? As well as Helen, we'll throw back to you in a moment. What's the name of your beautiful cat? But Aziz, which cat have you got?
Well, I don't have him anymore. He's moved on, as cats tend to do, but it was Casanova.
Casanova. Okay. But what's the best TV or film or book that you've consumed this year?
Since I get to go last, I've had plenty of time to think about it, so I can go relatively. I'm going to go ahead and claim Nosferatu was in 2025 because it came out on Christmas 2024. Like, almost no one saw it in 2024, so I'm going to count that. And I saw it in 2025 anyway, so that is up there. I say for TV shows, I would also agree with Andor. That was my favorite of the year. And I also would plug Foundation. It's quite good. It's if I could say something about Foundation very quickly, it's that it's not a very good adaptation, but it is the stuff that the original material they've made for it is quite good, which is very unusual. So that's the strength of it, is their original material, not the adaptation, which is usually that's not going to work, but it's working. So yeah, I'm very pleased with it. Lee Pace.
Oh, can I add two shows? We Were Liars was incredible, and also Adolescence was. I cannot believe that every single one of those episodes were filmed as like one take. Oh, wow. And the boy is just fantastic, and the dad as well. Incredible acting. So really good show.
For books, I'll just replug. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, sorry, that's Stephen Graham, terrific actor, the dad in that.
Yeah, 100%.
I was going to say, for books, I'll just replug Between Earth and Sky, Black Sun. I read the whole trilogy this year after the Hugos, and yeah, it's super good. And like you said, it's something that's not not European fantasy. In fact, she has not read Tolkien. It's an interesting thing. What? She doesn't want to read Tolkien because she knows it will influence her too much. Because he's so good, he's so detailed. It's like it's still a compliment in a way, but you know, it's a way. It's also a way to make sure her influences are separate. You know, so I don't know. Maybe she'll read it eventually. She's well established now.
I'll allow it then. But yeah, just to pick up very quickly on the Foundation thing, I'm in one of the, I don't know if you've ever had this, but I'm in that situation where I read, I don't know how many of the Foundation books, but certainly the main first Foundation book. It's now decades ago, which means that I've forgotten almost everything. So I actually genuinely don't know which is there, other than the main hazy outline, which is from Asimov, and which is new, which I think is probably a huge compliment to the writers of the show. If I can't tell the difference between what Asimov put in there and what they did. But Helen, can we have a cat update then, please? Maura Lee wants to know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, to see the cat or just the name? The name is Teddy.
The name is Teddy. I don't know.
She's so fluffy, like a teddy bear.
Aw, cute.
Cats and reindeers getting along. It's It's that time of year.
Excellent.
Another show from it's also a horror show. It's fantastic. Discovered it this year. Recommend.
From. Okay.
Yes.
I don't know it.
It's really
But
good.
that's
Oh,
good.
and that Dune show was really good. Was that this
Oh,
I
year?
like Dune. Dune
yeah,
Prophecy
yeah,
is pretty
yeah.
solid. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
So
Hmm.
good. So good.
Excellent. I'll just have a quick look through the chat. So Andor getting more love. And what else have people said?
People were saying the leaked footage of Odyssey,
Yeah.
Oh,
which I'm so
Excited.
I've
excited
not
about that.
seen that. It does look. I mean, the cast is obviously amazing, and Christopher Nolan is obviously amazing, and the story is obviously amazing. So I'm looking forward to it. But I think that's still a good year or so away. So it'll be a while. Although didn't they they ran the first 5 minutes of it in front of a couple of
I think it's the
films
summer,
recently,
maybe.
I think.
I think maybe it's the
Yeah,
summer.
Yeah.
I think it's next year. I'm
Sure.
pretty
I'll
sure
look
it
it
will
up. I'll look
be
it up.
26.
Let us use the
And
power
fun
of the
fact,
internet.
I've seen and Robert too. We've seen the set of in Morocco. We've seen the set of Troy, which is in Morocco, where like, a lot of films. Actually, Game of Thrones was filmed there as well.
July 17th, it says.
Hills Have Eyes too.
July 17th.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, let's go to another question. Where are we at? Let's do another Aziz one. I'm front loading the Aziz questions because I don't know how long we've got him for because he's an in-demand man. But Al had, and I should just say, patrons, by the way, obviously when we've got so many different people here on, it takes a little while to answer the questions. So if you answered more than one, then I've probably only picked one of them. I might have cut down some of the questions. So I hope you understand that for the Christmas live stream. But El had saying, hello, Robert, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in advance, and to you too. I agree with your theory that Martells and Danes were aligned with Rhaegar in the events leading up to the Tower of Joy. My question is, which of them, Martells, Danes, and importantly Lyanna, knew about Rhaegar's motivation, i.e. prophecy, particularly did Lyanna know? So, Aziz, just for your sort of context here, what I've said a few times is that it is, to my mind at least, beyond doubt that the Dornish, the Martells, they knew that the Tower of Joy was being used by Rhaegar, and so they had to be kind of tacitly accepting, at the very least, of what was going on. Because this is, for those who don't know, it's not just a random tower somewhere hidden away in the mountains. This is a watchtower on the main thoroughfare heading into Dawn, while there's a civil war going on, and there's a house fowler whose only main job is to be keeping an eye on the Prince's Pass, the main thoroughfare. They will have known if the heir to the realm and some and some Kingsguard rode in and then set up shop in one of their watchtowers. So, given that, how much did they know, or Lyanna know, do you think, about Rhaegar and prophecy and stuff like that?
I think they knew he was very steeped in it because he doesn't seem to have been very subtle about it, right? And when he was 7, he just says, "Hey, it seems I must be a warrior," because that's what the prophecy says. He would always be talking. He was talking about Comet and sending letters to Maester Aemon about prophecies. Yeah, it doesn't seem like he kept it on the down low. So I think he was quite open about it. So I think it's hard to, kind of like how you say it's hard for people not to have found out about the Tower of Joy because there's too many. For one thing, there's too many people involved there. There were servants and squires and things that aren't always portrayed or mentioned. But even the TV show had some background people there, which is, of course there were. These people, they always have servants. I mean, come on. And so I don't think they knew like what it all meant, what he expected from it, and and I doubt they knew details of what the why behind it. But I think they also knew he was a pretty steady-handed person in general. They might have been able to tolerate that because otherwise he was a very solid guy. but no doubt it was like a red flag. Maybe like some of the other lords and ladies were probably like, yeah, he's good and all, and he's definitely better than his father, but what's up with this prophecy stuff? Because that couldn't have been a plus, right? I don't think there's any noble person in Westeros that would have thought that's a good thing. You know, they wouldn't have seen that as a positive trait. But the Targaryens are the Targaryens. You know, you gotta, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the things that actually the TV shows have been good at, or certainly House of the Dragon has been good at, is reminding us that Targaryens as a whole, they're kind of magic-y people, as in they're kind of focused on prophecy. This isn't just like a nothing to do with prophecy, and then suddenly Dany appears and there's loads of prophecy going on everywhere. Every generation of Targaryens has been kind of prophetic, based in some way. Right. I had a question more broadly for I don't know if you caught the sad news recently about Rob and Michelle Reiner, Rob Reiner, who was an excellent director. Yeldenil, we're not going to sort of focus too much on it, but was just wondering what our favourite Rob Reiner film was. So, I mean, I'm going to go with the obvious one, which is the honest answer for me, which is The Princess Bride. I think it's a magnificent sort of bit of cinema. And for me, there's a very small selection of films that I just count as being perfect, as in you couldn't improve on it. And what it was trying to do, it did everything it set out to do. And if you happen to stumble across it somewhere on TV or something, then I always get caught up and carry on watching it because it's so wonderful. But who wants to start?
Spinal Tap.
I'll
say Spinal Tap.
Spinal. Well, you can say Spinal Tap, but Helen, have you got a favorite Rob Reiner film?
I think I just know Princess Bride. Tell me some other. I don't know. I probably know the others, but I didn't even know his name. So
there's The Wolf of Wall Street. I've just seen in his catalog. So
but still, Princess Bride, classic. Sorry.
Spinal Tap. Didn't he do A Few Good Men? I think Harry Met Sally was
people
him.
in the chat are saying
Harry Met Sally.
He did Misery.
Yeah.
He did The Bucket List, which is one of my favorites. I just think it's a really sweet story about these two guys who just we're dying. Let's have some fun. It's very sad, but it's very, very, very sweet as well. And When Harry Met Sally, and of course Princess Bride, 100%.
Harry.
Yeah, so I'm looking at his, I think it's discography right now, and The Bear is a good television show. Really enjoyed that. And then The Wolf of Wall Street. And I think, unfortunately, that's the only two I've watched from his. So I would have
Harry.
to go with two. Apologies.
Next time we meet, we're having a movie night.
Yeah, a Rob Reiner marathon.
Princess Bride. And then we're watching a documentary on reindeers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. or you bring one to London next time.
Yes. You know, because we Norwegians, we ride them.
Well, apparently, Helen, you said they're in the zoos as well. We can have a trip to the zoo. You know, pet a reindeer.
Yeah, you can.
Thing?
You can feed them. You can
So
go up north and hang out with them.
So yeah.
Well, the flying reindeer of Norway.
Yes. That's how I get to London every time.
So, I did wonder what all those flying reindeer were doing over the London skies, but now it turns out it's the Norwegians.
Yep.
Awesome. We will soon be joined by in fact, I'm going to do this straight away. Here is our sixth guest.
Hello.
Hey,
fresh from a Tolkien pub quiz, I believe.
Yes.
So bursting with Tolkien knowledge. Do you want to introduce yourself for the sake of anyone who does not know who you are?
Yes, I'm Lucas. I'm from Austria, and I did a long time ago some YouTube videos, still trying to do them, and doing a lot of local Tolkien stuff now.
Excellent. And you have a YouTube channel.
Tree.
Yes, I have a YouTube channel.
This is your chance to plug it. I'm giving you the option.
Thank you.
Shameless plug.
It's Tolkien Erklärt in German, and soon there will be an English channel which is just Tolkien Erklärt. I Tolkien Explained. It's a green logo with my initials and the 3 Silmarils. It will be fun.
Excellent. And I would highly recommend it if Lucas spends more time than is humanly normal, I would say, creating excellent explainer graphics for family trees and the like, which for everyone who's ever read Tolkien knows is very important because he does love his family trees.
Yeah.
Well, let's go straight in with. I was holding back a couple of the Lord of the Rings questions, but let's go for when you got here. Let's go straight in with. Let's go with an easy one to start with. Lucas, this is Ms. Fox in Arda, which is a great name, asking whether the Prince of Dol Amroth and his lineage would count as a Dunedain. Even though they settled in the Bay of Belfalas before the flood.
So, we know that the line of Imrahil comes from Imrasor and Mithrelas. And Imrasor is described in the Unfinished Tales as having royal Númenórean blood. So, yes, Imrahil is indeed Númenórean, in part royal. And Elvish. But yeah, the Elvish blood rules are complicated, so he can't, like Arwen, choose if he's an elf or a human.
Okay. Harry, come back. You're here.
Hello. Sorry.
So it's like I just said, where's Harry gone? He's disappeared. Yes, so he's basically for those who don't know, he was sort of rather cruelly cut, I felt, from the films. So he's like I mean he is there, but he's not got as significant a role as he does in the books. He's quite a great character. Is Prince Imrahil, and that part is southern Gondor, this kind of promontory in southern Gondor that was settled by elves back in the day. Galadriel, certainly in at least one of the different versions of Galadriel's history that Tolkien wrote, she and Celeborn settled down there for a bit, and the Númenóreans, some of the Númenóreans also settled there in the Second Age before Númenor fell. And so what you have is this group of people who are there who have got this ancient lineage from Númenor, and also perhaps just a hint of kind of elvish blood going on through them as well. So yes, they definitely. So Dunedain, for those who are wondering, this it sort of literally means it's a elf word, basically just means men of the West or men of Westerness. So these are people from Númenor, and we normally talk about it as being the Dunedain Rangers, like Aragorn, who are up in the north, but also technically Dunedain also can be down in the south as well. But Lucas, having just sort of dropped a sort of Tolkien thing on you, we were just all talking a little bit earlier about what is the best film or TV show or book that you've read or watched this year.
I mean, I don't read so much besides Tolkien, but I think my best read this year would be On Fairy Stories by Tolkien. And the best movie.
Or series.
I've seen the Nolan Batman movies again. I like those a lot.
Yes, they're
pretty good.
They are good. As we're there, and I'm not by this segue suggesting in any way that that this was really one of the favourite things this year, Lucas, I will allow you to hold your opinions on this. But Rings of Power, as I've got Harry here, let's just have a quick update. Where are you're the, for anyone who doesn't know, Fellowship of Fans is the go-to place for scoops. Is that the word we're using these days,
Yeah.
Harry? For scoops on Rings of Power and many other things. I'm not asking you to do any scoops live here, but where are we at? When are we expecting it? Is there any big bits of news people might have missed?
Yeah, so I think, yeah, so we actually got quite a few stuff for Rings of Power and Hunt for Gollum, but I'll start off with Rings of Power. The filming finished in November, so there's going to be now a period of post-production. It's probably going to be around this time or later. Well, not this time, maybe a few weeks before this time next year. And I think from some of the scoops, should I reveal some of the ones we have released from it, or should I leave that in spoilery territory?
If it's going to be spoilery, then don't tell us. But if it's like stuff that's general knowledge, as in the team are wanting us to know, then feel free to scoop away.
Yeah. So I think one thing which should be widely reported, I think you'd fair to miss it. Of course, Jamie Campbell-Bower. He seems like he's could be one of the front runners for the show now, because seen him in Stranger Things, Vecna, big up and coming actor, and I think it's understood mostly that he is going to be playing a book elf character. So I think as to which one that is, we'll have to wait till the show to find out. But that's been widely reported, and I think Helen's really liking the news as well.
And me.
Yep.
Yes,
and
we
so
love
yeah,
it.
so I think that's one. I think that bends a line between something too spoilery and a fun scoop. So that's going to be interesting. And then also, it's again 8 episodes. There's going to be a 5-year time jump between season 2 and season 3. We're going to also see, again, as Tolkien wrote, the beginning of the formation of the Ringwraiths. So this season we'll see how that will pan out. And that'll be a cool center for the season. And I think the best way to say season 3 is that this is now the season where Sauron has full control. So season 1 was him almost behind the scenes. Season 2 was him planning and strategizing. So this is now the season, from what I understand, and from what the showrunners have kind of hinted at so far, where we're going to see him in full display, which will be very, very exciting. So yeah, and I think a lot of the cast are returning. So yeah, I think that's a general overview of where we are at right now.
Awesome. But you did also tease the Hunt for Gollum, which, if anyone has not picked up on this, there is going to be from. I mean, it's not sort of Peter Jackson exactly, but from the Peter Jackson team, if that's probably the best way of saying it, we have got at least one, possibly 2 new Lord of the Rings films. The one that they have announced is The Hunt for Gollum, which is set just before the Lord of the Rings, when Aragorn and Gandalf are looking for Gollum to try and figure out what on earth what's this ring about? How does Gollum fit into all of this? Helen's now showing us fluffy characters from Lion King, I think.
Yes.
But what's the news on that? When is it going to be filming? What's this we hear about Viggo Mortensen possibly not being in it? Who is going to be in it? What can you tell us that's sort of public domain stuff?
Yes. So Andy Serkis arrived in New Zealand. It's going to be first of all filmed in New Zealand again. He landed, I believe, August 6th. Around that time, earlier this year, started pre-production work on that. Filming, from what I last understood, is going to be around May to June next year when it fully kicks off. And then, yes, of course, as you've seen from what's in the public, the reports that there potentially may be a new Aragorn, which is not Viggo Mortensen. And I was hearing this for a while, and I think again, this is not all confirmed, but from what I was kind of hearing, was that it seems like it was more him not wanting to do it as opposed to the studio not wanting to get tapped. I know they did try for a while to get him on board. As for his reasonings, that, of course, if it ever comes out properly, we'll have to see his decision on not taking up the role. But except from that, we know Elijah Wood will be back. We know Sir Ian McKellen will be back. We know there's a high chance that Orlando Bloom will be back as well. And there has been some murmurings about the chances of potentially seeing Tariel as well, which would be, an interesting thing for fans. But as of right now, we know for sure Elijah Wood, Sir Ian McKellen, and basically it's not been announced yet about Orlando Bloom as well. again, filming begins May, June next year. And then, yeah, the release date is still a couple of years away. It got pushed back a year, I think. Well, that was reported. And yeah, I think that's all we know as of right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for that. As I say, it's people often ask where are these things at, and yeah, it's quite slow going. I think my headline is Rings of Power is going to be airing in about a year, and the Hunt for Gollum, they haven't started filming yet, so they haven't finished announcing cast. Is where we're at. So don't expect that.
Yeah.
A couple of years is basically where we are.
December 2027 is kind of the period where they are looking to release it. So yeah, still I guess
December 27.
2 years away from now.
Cool. Let's just actually any quick reactions from anyone else on that. I don't know. We keep this positive. I know not everybody's massive Rings of Power fans, but we're keeping this positive. What any thoughts on the Hunt for Gollum news?
I have two random things to insert here. Do y'all know the connection, Jamie Campbell Bower's connection to Game of Thrones? It's fun trivia. He was supposed to be Waymar Royce in the opening scene, but that got changed. And then he was in the Blood Moon pilot. So there's two. He was in two things. Or
yeah, he was also
in the other. Yeah.
Also young Grindelwald in Harry Potter as well.
Yeah,
he was.
Yeah. He's really checking off the list. He needs to do some Star Wars or something next to really, and maybe some Avengers or something. Just got to check off all the boxes. The other thing is, yeah, he is. Yeah. The other thing is, have any of y'all listened to the Silmarillion read by Andy Serkis? Because I have, and I loved it so much that I started it over immediately when I finished.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like. Yeah. That's the right way to do it.
There's so much life to it. It's great.
Lucas, what are your thoughts on Hunt for Gollum?
It can be fun. It can be a new Hobbit. So I will watch it either way. So I would have my fun with it one way or another. Either I have fun with it or I'm making fun of it. But yeah, always in a way that is fun for me and my peers. Like with the third Hobbit movie.
You're being quiet in the corner, Helen. What are your thoughts?
No. I just wanted to say we have a very fun German Tolkien Society stream on YouTube and other platforms after each episode of Rings of Power, and it's very, very funny how we have people who like it, and then there's people like Lucas and I who don't like it that much. So yeah, we're not looking forward to that, but we're looking forward to the chat and to the community.
Yes, I mean, I have to admit the Hunt for Gollum, I am looking forward to, but I just want to hear a little bit more about how they're going to do it, because you could frame it in a number of different ways, and I'm not sure yet I understand exactly how they're going to do it. The Viggo Mortensen news, I completely understand, because that was he was filming like 25 years ago being Aragorn, and this is a younger version of Aragorn than then, so it kind of makes sense to me. And you can have younger actors who can do a good. I mean, I think Martin Freeman did an excellent job as Bilbo, and that doesn't mean that I don't think that Ian Holm was excellent. I think Ian Holm was wonderful as Bilbo, but then you can have a younger actor take over. So if they get the casting right, I'm up for this. Let's go to...
Sorry to interfere. I actually have one more thing about Rings of Power, which I'm sure will be an interesting discussion. So this was released actually like a year and a half ago. So the season 1 and season 2 had the same writers team, but season 3 they have 9 new writers. So no one from season 1 or season 2 is working on season 3. So if you go back through the reports, I can try find up later. JD Payne and Patrick McKay are still there. But
how are these 9 dressed by chance?
9.
Like,
are they wearing black or?
I don't know about this.
Do they have a ring?
Mm-hmm. But you know, that was an interesting thing. Let me see if I can find it whilst you guys.
No, that's fine. I mean, if you tell me that there were 3 writers in season 1, 7 in season 2, and then we're just like ending one writer to rule them all in the final season. Perhaps that would be good.
But I'm looking forward to 2 things in the Rings of Power season. How Sauron makes the One Ring will be a big thing, and the War of the Elves and Sauron. I think that will be also a big thing to look forward to.
Absolutely. So I mean, I think we're looking at season 3 is the War of the Elves and Sauron, and the distribution of the rings is the sort of at a high level. That's what we're looking at, and so the Sauron on Numenor story is probably going to be season 4. So that's sort of roughly where we're at on this.
So let me try something. You can still talk, but is this
okay? Well, you're looking for
You're
something,
allowed to talk.
Aziz. It's been at least 5 minutes since I've asked you a nerdy Song of Ice and Fire question. So we've got another one here from. I know you're excited, but this is Medal in Tyrell Dane saying, "We know that Ned hears a whisper in the wind when Bran calls to him through the weirwood. We also know that a variation on Hold the Door will happen in the books. I wonder if both of these events foreshadow another event in the books where Bran influences the past in a very significant way. Is this likely? What could that be? And are some of the things we currently blame on Bloodraven actually things Bran does in the future?" So, I mean, the context here is, I've said this on a few videos actually recently, is that it's very clear that Bran, it can influence the past in very small ways at the very least right now. He can say things through the weirwood tree, and his father turns around and say, "Who's there?" He almost certainly manages to sort of very vaguely communicate with Theon through the Winterfell weirwood tree as well. And there are another couple of instances that you could probably point at. Lots of people say, well, this is all kind of foreshadowing, building up to the Hodor moment, which is almost certainly going to be happening. We've basically got confirmation that is going to be happening slightly differently in the books, but roughly the same kind of idea. So we're looking at Bran being able to go into the past and influencing events there. The question is that just another stepping stone to something even bigger in the future? So what do you think, Aziz? What are we is Hodor like the culmination of this sort of arc, or is there something even further on down the line?
Yeah, I think there's probably other impacts, other ripple effects, but I think as far as some other reaching into the past to alter events, that I'd be a little skeptical about, because I think he wants to keep that to a minimum. George has always said that he wants to not have, the big high magic have such a huge impact on the plot, and I think that we might already be in that territory with communicating with the past. So I think he wants to have a light hand on that. But it is because I think there's just so much set up for the Hodor thing and how. But I think there's probably things about that plot line that we weren't on the TV show, the things that we couldn't predict. So I think I think that's probably how I would look at it. There is more to it, but it isn't a second event. It's just that we haven't seen all of that because the TV show didn't give us everything. George hasn't even figured it all out himself, so how could they? So yeah, Hodor is introduced by a door slamming open suddenly. It's the first time we see him, and his main role in book 2 was opening the door of the crypt that they were stuck in. So it's like everything about this guy is doors, So Bran hits his head on the door when he walks in. Yeah, all these things. Anyway, so yeah, I think it's a good thought, but I would look at it a little differently in terms of just one big event rather than multiple.
Yeah, and one thing George R. R. Martin has said about Hold the Door is that it will happen in the books, but not perhaps quite as literally as sort of like holding a door. He said that just think the kind of like the more colloquial, defend that doorway.
Hold
Kind
the
of holds
pass.
the door.
Yeah, that kind of
feel.
thing. Yeah.
You shall not pass.
Yes.
Or as he would say it, Hodor.
Hodor and
so-
Gandalf do have a lot. No, they don't have anything.
They definitely have a lot in common. I just can't think of it right now. Lucas, were you trying to find something for us before we went over to Hodor?
Yeah, it was related to Tolkien. It's just now I have the things up and running. If we want to talk about map stuff or stuff like that.
Oh, hang on. We've got a map going on here. Now I'm trying to see. This is where your technological ability is clearly better than mine because it's now not allowing me to do this. Before
Anyone could.
presenting a screen, remove other media. Okay, so I need to hang on. Bear with me. I can do this. Add to stage. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Look at this.
Whoa,
What are
that
we
is
looking
cool.
at, Lucas?
Yeah, this is the second age. So if we want to talk about any stuff related to the second age, this is all we have. So this is basically based off the maps of Karen Wynn Fonstad and then recolored to have this sort of half 3D effect, and yeah, it's quite zoomable.
Is the super far east just Valinor come from the other side, or what is the way over to the east?
So this whole thing is Middle Earth.
Yeah.
Then you have, of course, Numenor and Valinor,
Mhm.
and this is when when Arda was still a disk and not a round planet because Numenor is not.
right. Okay.
So these are the I think those are the dark lands in English. In German, it's die dunkle Lande, and this is
Sounds about right.
the lands of the sun because before the world was round, the boats with the sun and the moon rose in the west and then went no the other way around. They rose in the east and then went to the west. Exactly.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would just sort of pick up from what we were talking about earlier was Numenor. You perhaps don't pick up on it from watching Rings of Power. It is in the west compared to Middle Earth. Middle Earth, of course, being the continent, not like the whole world. We often talk about Middle Earth effectively like it's the whole world, but it is just that continent we've got there, sort of pretty much in the middle of this picture. And then Numenor is west, which is why we get this Men of the West, Westerness. That's the kind of feel that we've got going on there. So Dunedain being Men of the West means that Dunedain are the people who come from Numenor, or the faithful who come from Numenor. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Thank you very much for that, Lucas. That's a good map. If anyone's got any map-related questions, throw them into the chat. Beric the horse is in the chat saying, or neighing, "Home sweet home." That's good. Can't see any immediate. Rhoda leader, Merry Christmas to you too. Lots of people asking for Lucas's channel link. Bitter, they're even adding on to this. Very polite. Lucas, if you're in the chat, just put a link across to your channel.
Of course,
I think people will appreciate it. Let's do another question. Aziz, do you want another one? We can do another one. I've got a lot of questions. What about Summerhall?
Sure, I can do one more. Then I'll have to go. That's perfect.
Awesome. We've got. I've got two questions, and basically both about Summerhall. Feel free to wrap up answers to both of them in whichever way you wish. Lady Pushkin's saying, is there a possible that the Summerhall tragedy was blood magic and a sacrifice gone wrong to hatch dragons? And what do you think the sacrifice, and who do you think the sacrifice was meant to be? And then Sir Steve the O is saying, in the Tales of Dunk and Egg, in all three novellas, when Dunk is fighting someone, Egg is shouting at him, "Get him, he's over there, get him." Is this foreshadowing, like the dream of drowning in sand? And is this to do with Summerhall? So pick out from those two questions what you wish, and give us a little bit of wisdom.
All right. The get him, he's right there part. That's an interesting way to look at it. I've obviously noticed that pattern. I hope they have. I'm almost positive they'll have him do that on the show. That'd be great. But yeah, I never thought about it as like something that he might say at a more tragic or climactic moment. But yeah, that would be a really good callback. Maybe I don't think it would be there wouldn't be a way to fit it in every single story if somehow they were all written. But yeah, that's interesting. I think it could come up like that. That's clever. As far as the other bit, the failed, certainly it was failed something, and it was almost certainly sorceress. Whether it was blood magic, I suppose, is kind of semantics. It was certainly magic of some kind. I'm not sure that it was blood magic in the sense that there was that King Aegon a plan to sacrifice somebody, that his personality would have had to change an awful lot to do something like that. You know, that just doesn't seem to fit the character we know. But we only know him as a very young person. The history books don't say anything about him becoming like bloodthirsty, or there's no indication of that. It may have been a side effect. That sort of thing may have been unintended side effect. But what I'm particularly drawn to is the recurring wildfire amongst the dreams of both him and his brother Arion and Aerys. So why do they have wildfire dreams? That had nothing to do with Daenerys and the dragons coming. So that's where it's somewhere like I'm transposing the Hodor question here, because I don't predict the different big peering into the past changing something, but I do predict that these folks are seeing an event in the future that isn't the rebirth of the dragons. It's something that's yet to come, some sort of wildfire climax that might happen at King's Landing, or because that's where the Pyromancers Guild is. That's where the hidden caches are still located. So that there aren't other candidates really besides King's Landing for that. So that's how I kind of look at some of that, is that the Summer Hall was driven by dreams, as we know, but from Maester Aemon. All his brothers dreamt of dragons, and it killed them all. So that means Egg had dreams of what he did, and it just didn't go the way he expected. So I think that's the big hidden point here, is that they weren't dreaming of the return of dragons, even though they talk about that a lot, and that's what they were trying to do, and it did happen. Their visions were not of that. It was of something that is yet to come. Probably, some sort of wildfire cataclysm that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I think that's that's all good stuff. There's a lot. Sorry, I was going to start talking, do my own Summerhall thoughts here, but if you need to go, Aziz, then
I'll hear your answer too.
What's that? Sorry,
I'll hear your answer too, and then I'll disconnect you.
Well, so I mean, what I would say is that there's a lot of things that could be sort of bits of foreshadowing with Dunk and Egg that could be pointing towards what happens at the end. I think that one of them is this repeated refrain of "Get him, he's over there," which you could change to be like, if he's telling people to get Dunk, that would be a tragic turn at the very end. If Dunk is trying to do something to stop what Egg is trying to do, and he's getting his guards to stop him, that would be pretty tragic. The sand, one of those two questions, I've forgotten which one it was, is noticeable. He does have, in the Sworn Sword, he has this quite long dream in which Egg and he are both they're in Dawn in this dream, and lots of other characters kind of appear in it, but they end up almost kind of drowning in this sand, which some people have pointed out that this is how the Pyromancers, the Alchemist Guild, this is how they try and put out wildfire, sort of burning when there shouldn't be burning going on, is that where they do their experiments, they have this big trapdoor above them with sand above it, and then the trapdoor opens and the sand all comes down and rushes and puts out the flames. And some people have said, well, we know there are going to be pyromancers there, we know there's big fire and explosions and stuff, perhaps the pyromancers set up that, and could this be some kind of foreshadowing of sand coming down on Duncan Egg in that final thing? And then the third, which is something we've talked about a lot, is this Dunk's foot, where he spoilers, by the way, if you've not read, feel free to skip forward or mute for the next 30 seconds. But so in the Hedge Knight, which is what's going to be happening season 1 of Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, Dunk, he basically he kicks a Targaryen with his foot, which meant that his foot should have been chopped off. And in order to save that, then we get a whole series of events happen, and he ends up wondering, because a prince dies, he ends up wondering, is my foot worth Prince's death? Maybe there's a way that somehow my foot is going to be worth more than that. Could that perhaps save more lives, this foot? And he thinks back to this several times, and some people do wonder whether or not his foot is going to be important right at the very end. Could he save the life of, say, Rhaegar, who was born at the tragedy at Summerhall, by putting his foot into a door, by holding open a door rather than holding the door? So there's lots of things there that George R. Martin could be seeding for this. I don't think we know enough yet to be 100% certain, but I'd be shocked if none of those 3 things I've just mentioned are actually bits of foreshadowing for the final moments of their lives.
I like the kicking down a door idea, and I like the get him, he's right there, as a way to save somebody, as an indication to save somebody. Those are good theories.
Absolutely. But Aziz, you need to go because you're an in-demand man.
Do you
want to remind us all of where people can find Aziz and History of Westeros on the World Wide Web?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me, first of all, and thanks for the questions, everybody. I hope we all can donate to this deserving charity. And I'm over at History of Westeros on Spotify and YouTube and all podcast platforms. And we do live streams on Sundays not during the TV season, and on Mondays at 6 when there is a TV show. And so we're looking forward to Duncan Egg coming up soon.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Aziz. Have a fantastic festive season, and thank you for all your contributions this year. You will see Aziz again at some point on this channel. If not see him, then get the benefit of his wisdom in working on scripts with me. So,
and nice to meet everybody as well. And hey,
you take care.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
One cat.
And that was Aziz. Okay, so while Aziz mentioned it, let's just very briefly say this is a charity stream. So, guys, if you're enjoying this, if you're filled with Christmas cheer, then I would hugely appreciate it if you could just find out where that button is somewhere on your screen and make a donation as generous as you are able to Alzheimer's support. It's an incredibly worthwhile charity, so thank you very much. But while that was happening, I think we've got another random thing has suddenly appeared up here that
I just browsed through my pictures, but we can go to this one because we had to ask a question of Imrahil, and that's one of the. Here we have him, Imrahil.
Okay.
Who is the brother-in-law of Denethor. And if we go up through his ancestors, we go through all the princes or lords of Dol Amroth, and then we have here Galador and Imrasor and Mithreles. And as you can see, the green frame means that someone is elvish. And so Imrasor has his connections to the Númenóreans up here.
Awesome. Thank you. I knew it would be worthwhile having you on because I wasn't lying when I said that this is where we get all of the wonderful little bits of graphics and things like that. Let's go to another question.
At least they're not
I
all
fear I may.
related.
Go on.
Sorry, no. Ignore me.
That's okay. I fear I'm now going to be having to answer all of the A Song of Ice and Fire questions, so you're going to get that. But we've got a Tolkien one here. Oh, in fact, this is one I was looking forward to. I saw this was coming through. I'm going to look at people's faces when I read this one. So this is Rabbi saying, "Salutations, Roberts, Dan the dog, and the guests. Wanted to wish you all a very happy Christmas, etc." A few streams ago, me, committed sacrilege by saying that Fingolfin is overrated. Now, what's the people think about this? Now, I was being slightly tongue-in-cheek when I was saying that, I have to say, but I would love people's views. For those who do not know, Fingolfin was an incredibly powerful elf way back in the day of the Noldor, and his most famous moment was when he fought and did incredibly well against Morgoth, who is the biggest bad guy in Tolkien's world. And a lot of people have often said this shows that he is the greatest fighter in Middle-earth. I do not think that's necessarily the case, but I would love your views. Helen, you're my elf person. First of all, is Fingolfin overrated?
No. I mean, Tolkien himself loved him so much. If you read the part how he even writes there and how epic that whole duel is, I don't think so. I think Tolkien really loved him and loved to write that scene. Not overrated. But do you want like a ranking? Who's the best warrior? Or
We
what
can
was the question?
do
Sorry, I
that
was
if you want.
distracted.
No, that's right. I will give you the context for what I was saying when I said it. It was a rather flippant remark, but it was I think a lot of people, when they think of that battle between Fingolfin and Morgoth, they're thinking of a full-powered Morgoth, whereas he had at this point. I did a video on this if you're interested, but Morgoth's ring is a big sort of a concept in Tolkien's world. He, in the same way that Sauron pushed so much of his own power and might into a ring, Morgoth pushed so much of his own power and might and evil influence and stuff like that into the world, in essence. So he was not as epically powerful at that moment in time as he had been at the earliest parts of the Silmarillion, when he's out there sort of fighting all of the Valar basically just himself. So that was the context. But Helen, yes, go on, give us a power list of elves.
Yeah, no, but we were just talking, when we all met about Gundolin and how epic Exelion was. I think when it comes to power, and he did slay, the Balrog in his mountains. So I do think that that's pretty powerful. But then also Glorfindel fighting the other Balrog. I think fighting a Balrog though, and fighting a even less powerful Morgoth, but still, it's not a comparison fighting one or two Balrogs compared to Morgoth, even not in prime. That's I think when it comes to fighting power, it's still of Fingolfin and skills.
That's fair. I've just noted a comment in the chat, entirely unrelated, but going back to what we were watching just one moment ago. Brian Velko saying Targaryen family trees are more of a tree trunk, right? Yeah, they kind of are. Let's go, Nikki. What are your thoughts on Fingolfin or power elves more generally?
To be honest, I don't really have that many thoughts about it. Like, I would be more like if the question was, is he the most interesting elf to read about? Are there other elves that I love more? I guess, yes, there are other elves that I enjoy reading more about. But as for strength-wise, I feel like because that was at a specific point in time, and there are, like, all of these elves are fighting different enemies or the same enemy, but on different levels, you know? So it's hard to say, really, who would be the strongest. Like, if we were to pit them all against each other, maybe we would have an answer, but we don't see that. So, yeah. I don't know.
Awesome. By the way, thank you to everyone who has donated. I'm not sure if I said thank you yet. The donations have been coming in quite regularly through this, and I hugely appreciate it. So thank you very much. I haven't read out for whatever reason. I can't. The software I'm using doesn't give me it doesn't flash up when people donate. I think it does on YouTube, but I'm not on.
Would I be able
so,
to give
that's why I
one
haven't-
shout out?
Yes.
I've just seen Beric, who runs our Instagram page, just donated $50. So I'll say thank you, of
Wow.
course, on behalf of Robert as
Thank
well.
you very much indeed.
Beric,
Yeah,
Beric,
thanks to
really
everyone
appreciate
who's donating. Thank you. I think the moderators are doing a good job saying
Mhm.
thank you from what I've seen. So
Yeah.
The moderators
Yeah.
always do a good job. It's
Yes.
just what they do. This is excellent. Let's go on, Lucas. You will have views on Fingolfin, I
So-
feel sure.
Many views.
I think Fingolfin is overrated, in fact.
Ooh,
Wow.
I have to say,
Shots
I'm
And
fired.
we can end the stream. It's fine. If you,
Let's
if,
go
you,
home.
if you come to the same view as me on Balrog Wings, then we're going to be friends forever. But carry on. We'll get on to Balrog later.
I have to say I'm a bit of an Fëanor apologist, but for Fingolfin, he has that big battle with Morgoth, but that's basically it. He has this few beginning moments with Fëanor, but you can feel that he is a character that was written in after the how's it called? The Lost Tales.
Mhm.
So in the Lost Tales, Fingolfin doesn't exist, but the story with Fëanor still works. So there's that. And outside of Valinor, Fingolfin has almost no dialogue. So we have the moment in the fight of Morgoth, but before that, I think the most important of the Noldorians that are far north is like the other Fs. The sons of Fingolfin are all important, so he's important for the family tree, but as a character, there is not so much there for me.
Sorry, crossing the Helcaraxe and things, leading his people. I think he's not overrated.
Yeah, but all of that would happen without him.
Well,
So
Harry, do you wish to chime in on this one at all?
No, yes, 100%. So I feel like Rob, I'm guessing you think he is overrated, correct?
I mean, that's how I started it. I'm slightly
Okay.
tongue-in-cheek. I think if you had to
Okay.
sort of say, is he an amazing elf who clearly did great things? Yes.
yes,
But if there are people who would sort of suggest that he's the most powerful elf, I think the answer is no.
hmm Yeah, no, that is interesting. I think powerful elf, most powerful elf, something that can be debated. I guess, Lucas, your side is more from like a Fëanor apologist side, and I think it's really what side I guess you'd be on. And of course, I know Helen mentioned, crossing the Helcaraxe, and again, Lucas, you mentioned that could have still happened anyways. But I guess one thing you said, he wasn't mentioned that didn't have that much to do, but I guess his overall leadership, I think throughout early periods, something that you can't attribute to him. And even though that might not be powerful, I think he was a figure that I guess people looked up to. And then again, near the end, of course, we mentioned the fight with Morgoth. And I think maybe not powerful, he could be up there most heroic, I think, is where my stance would be. But again, of course, going alongside Fëanor, I guess I can understand the argument there as well for most powerful. But yeah, no, I think I see him in the first stage in the Years of the Trees. I think is more like leadership. That's what I attribute to him. I think that's what he brings, and that's kind of where I am. I'm not sure whether that means he's overrated or underrated, but yeah, no, I think that's kind of where my viewpoint on him kind of stems from.
My main problem.
Feanor, to be, I just because I happen to have the quote in front of me, I may be writing a Feanor video at the moment. Feanor was made the mightiest in all parts of body and mind, in valor, in endurance, in beauty, in understanding, in skill, in strength, and subtlety alike of all the children of Iluvatar, is what Tolkien says. So I think we go with that for Feanor's the man. But that doesn't mean that Fingolfin's not impressive in and of his own right.
Yeah, and I think that's the best way to look at it, because of course that propels Feanor so high, but that still doesn't mean Fingolfin didn't do his things as well. And again, it's one of, I think when you look back when reading the Silmarillion, I think that face off with Morgoth, of course, also Beren and Luthien as well, their face off, I think that's one of the more parts people remember as well. So yeah, there's it's like the Ronaldo Messi debate. It's like there's room for both of them.
My
but
main
it's also
problem.
like what you give, yes, he was given all this, but he didn't fulfill his destiny, right? So he completely fucked up. And it's also about the outcome, what you do with what is given to you.
Your legacy.
Yeah, and well, there was nothing left, and then it also blew up in fire, and there was nothing left of him. So I think Tolkien's pretty clear on that.
I think you're right. But this does bring me to the unplanned supplementary question that dominated our thoughts about 2 years ago, and still has to be asked to every new person on this channel. Do Balrogs have wings?
No.
Now, I think we'll accept just a simple yes or no on this one. Harry, I may have put this one to you before. Do Balrogs have wings? Yes or no?
And I believe I do know your answer. So for the sake of it, I'm gonna go no, they don't have rings.
Okay. Nikki, do Balrogs have wings?
Oh no. In my head, what's that saying they say? What, like, everybody remembers the color as yellow or something? In my head, they do have wings, but is that just because I feel like I've seen drawings of that, or it's just in my head? So I will say yes. It's probably
Yeah, it's
no,
not a
but I'll
trick
say yes.
question. It's not a trick question. There are Tolkien scholars on both sides of this debate. So yeah, I'm not catching anyone. I just need to know where everybody stands. Helen, what's your view?
Of course, they have wings. Wings of shadow. Still wings.
Okay, and Lucas?
I'm with the Wings of Shadow thing, and it's also they have wings of shadow, but in my opinion, they are not for flying. So they are to make them bigger. And
Yeah, it's
in
like
German,
penguin.
no. So it's not a physical wing. So it's a wing of darkness. And in German, it's quite interesting. So we have two translations of the same book, and one says Flügel, which would be like the literal bird wing, and the other says Schwingen, which is more like I can't really translate it in English because the translation is wings. So, but it's like you have the.
Yeah, but eagles have schwingen, so it's the same. It's also bad wings. It's
But
just a
schwingen could
different.
also be your arms could also be schwingen.
No.
I have looked this up, but yeah.
Is it a cape? No.
No, my take, and everyone's gone to penguin wings once more, which I can't remember how we got there last time in the chat. But yes,
Because they don't use them to fly. They just have them and they can't fly with it. That was my explanation.
There are birds that can't fly that have wings. Some of them even have big wings. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Balrogs never fly. They fall a lot for a creature that has wings.
Yeah.
If they do have wings, they
can't
always
use them.
forget to use them. Yes, they and Gandalf I can go off on a long one, and I'm not going to. Gandalf's, this is my argument for this year, is that the Gandalf's entire strategy for defeating the Balrog was for him to plummet down by destroying the bridge and him to fall down. And that would have been a stupid strategy if the Balrog had wings that he could use, which does
But if he would be a
seamlessly, wow,
penguin, he
sometimes I even
wouldn't.
impress
He
myself,
wouldn't fly.
seamlessly take me on to Martin S.'s question, which is, how clever is Gandalf? Now, Martin, you did this as a much longer and much more erudite question than I've just read out. But you basically said Tolkien doesn't frame things like that. He prefers concepts like wisdom, moral character, humility, etc. But setting those things aside, how exceptional do you think Gandalf is in terms of sheer cognitive capacity alone? What do you reckon, guys? How clever is Gandalf? Nikki, we'll start with you on this one.
Gandalf's my G, man. I like him. I think he's brilliant. I think sometimes he makes himself appear dumber than he is. He's one of those people who's like, he's super smart, but he's like, it's not a good idea to be this smart, so I have to like cover it up and then go like incognito and make stuff happen. So I feel like he's brilliant. And I think maybe also sometimes he doesn't even know how brilliant he is. Yeah.
Yes, sorry, I just got distracted by Karl Karsnark saying, I'm torn. My Opa, his grandfather was German, but my grandmother was Austrian. Does that make me Australian?
Absolutely does.
I'm not 100%. Sure it quite works like that. But yeah, I think I would agree. He has to be. I mean, and Gandalf is my G. Is you put that on the t-shirt? But yeah, so he has to be pretty clever. Where should we go to? Lucas, let's go to you next.
I mean, he has to be clever, but I think in Tolkien's work, he's also divine. So that thing, a lot of his things are happen, and maybe he pulls some strings in the background we don't know of. I mean, I have the theory that he killed Frodo's parents, but that's another story.
Okay. Well, that's me.
So if Frodo's parents die, Frodo gets to go to Bilbo, and he knows that Bilbo is already the guy he wants, and so now he gets Frodo into that direction, and so he would be the perfect candidate to bring the ring somewhere.
But how would he know? I'm very confused by this. This is like Batman. Is Frodo Batman?
Yes.
Yes. This is. Yes, I always thought he was.
And we don't know how many hobbits Gandalf has already killed on his missions.
Good God, this is getting.
Oh my God, this guy's dark. Oh no.
No.
Gandalf.
So, Harry, how many hobbits has Gandalf already killed on his missions?
Well, it depends how many dragons he's fought in his lifetime. So if there are many quests, I'd say I put out a good 3 or 4. You know, Lucas, does that fit into your theory? 3 or 4 hobbits being killed by Gandalf?
Be, yes.
Yeah, we're gonna see a few of them in Rings of Power, I suppose. Sorry, spoiler. I didn't. Well, if you haven't seen it by now, too bad.
Helen, how clever is Gandalf? And is he your G as well?
No, Lobelia Sackville Baggins is my G.
Okay.
Okay, you avoided the Gandalf question, but we'll go with the Sackville Bagginses. This is all good.
Yeah.
Martin, I hope that answered that. You I don't know whether you wanted me to read it out, but I shall. You estimated IQ of 160. That sounds about right. I've got no reason to doubt that. But yes, definitely above.
People are saying Gandalf is Blood Raven confirmed. With what Lucas
Blood
said.
Raven's IQ is higher than 160, surely.
No,
with the Blood Raven's fault.
With the killing and planning ahead.
Yes, yes. Well, Bloodraven would definitely kill hobbits. That's true. I think we're agreed on that. That's and I've literally no idea how many people have done this. Wrestler asking my thoughts about Witcher season 4, which I noted none of us mentioned when we were talking about our favourite thing of the year. What was the overall thoughts on that? I uh, I liked it, actually. I have to say, it was. I liked it more than I was expecting to. My general feeling is that Witcher season 1 I really enjoyed. Witcher season 2, I think they went off in a few weird directions away from the books that I didn't like. Season 3 felt like they were trying to pull it back. Season 4. Not perfect, not as good as season 1, I don't think, but there were a couple of Leo Bonhart. I thought, I forget the actor's name, but I thought he was excellent in that. And also Regis was brilliant too. I thought one or two of the episodes I felt were a bit of a dud, but overall it kept, I think, to the feel of that stage of the books, which is very much Geralt trying to find Ciri and just going very slowly and not being very successful and getting sidetracked by things all the time. And I think that felt right to me. So I enjoyed it. I have to admit, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. And the new Geralt, for those who haven't watched it, I can honestly say, and this is not a slight on Henry Cavill, I didn't miss Henry Cavill, and I think that's it's not that I thought that Henry Cavill was bad. I thought Henry Cavill was very good, but I thought that the whichever Hemsworth it is, I always get them confused.
Liam, I
Whichever
think.
Hemsworth it is
Liam.
I thought he did a really good job, and kept to the Henry Cavill's kind of like characterization, but also added a slightly different twist to it. So I thought that all worked well. Who watched it here? Harry.
Yeah.
Go on. What did you think?
So no, I do agree that with you that I didn't feel like Henry Cavill was missed too much. I thought Liam did, a very good job. And I think you'd actually mentioned this before. I feel like Henry Cavill had more of like the game personality of Geralt, the bit, over exaggerated at times. But and then similarly, like season 1, and also thought that season 4 was a big step up from, I guess, seasons 2 and 3. But it seems like, and I still don't think it was enough. I think Leon Bonhart was amazing. I think the rat storyline at times dragged on, I guess, a little bit. And yeah, I guess it was nice at the end to see. Oh, sorry, spoilers for The Witcher, but I guess it's really nice to see Geralt become, I guess, kind of semi-officially Sir Geralt of Rivia, I believe, when he yep, which was really cool. And I thought the little squad they had on throughout, the dwarves, they were quite cool. And yeah, that final, I guess I think it picked up near the end of the season. I think there was a few episodes in there which was a bit dragged on. I think the one where they're in the marshes, you were thinking, okay, can we get through this a bit now? But aside from that, I think actress who plays Ciri was again a big step up. But I think the only thing for me with The Witcher is it feels like every season it just rinse and repeat of the mages at a fort and just fighting off the other mages. And I felt like I hoped if this season it would be like kind of a different thing, but it seems like they always go back to that same cycle of, okay, we found this not random fortress, I think it was Redania or something nearby, but we find this fortress, this old castle, we're gonna have to defend it and use younger mages. So that's the kind of thing I think about The Witcher. It just keeps repeating that again and again. But if that's in the source material, then I guess that's fine.
Yes, absolutely. And Helen, you also watched it.
Yeah, the only disappointing thing was Vesimir's death, which was like, first of all, how Liam or not Liam, but how he reacted to it was like, ah, cool, let's shag. No, dude, that was literally his father figure. That was weird. That's not how you react when your father dies. And yeah, it was unnecessary because it's not in the books like that. So I was like disappointed. I didn't understand it at all. It was not necessary. Other people died. Otherwise, really, really good. Season 4, big step up. And I'm excited for season 5. Yeah. And that's the last one, no? Season 5. And they filmed it back to back, so it's already in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So season 5 is the last one, and they have filmed it already. So actually, the viewing figures, which I think were down again, don't really matter in this context because season 5 will be shown. They're just doing post production on that one now. Nikki, did you watch it or not?
I fell off after season 2. I
Same.
really enjoyed season 1. Season 2 just confused the hell out of me. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back to playing the games or start playing the games and try reading the books instead. Sort of. Yeah.
But the villain in season 2 was also so bad. That was you always
Yeah.
need a good
And
yeah.
The
I
time
think
just
jumps
how-
and it just made no sense to me. I was like, what are these choices? Like there's so many other ways you could do this that would work.
And
Great,
just how
beautiful, but not my thing.
So, and Lucas, I'm going to assume from your silence that you're not a Witcher person.
I have, like Nikki, watched the first 2 seasons, but I remember some of the first season, but I don't know anything anymore about season 2, and yeah, I just stopped being interested in it.
Okay, well that.
But I
is
wanted to
fair.
play
Yeah,
the game
there's-
someday.
Yeah, I mean the games are good. I mean they are well into Witcher 4 development, as I understand it. So we will probably get that maybe even in a couple of years or so. So that's definitely something to look forward to. Also, the Rats spin-off. I've mentioned probably on a live stream. I will watch this. I've got low expectations for it. I have to say, the filming issues I spoke about probably about 2 years ago. It seems they changed their mind halfway through about what they wanted to do, which they started filming a 6-part series and then stopped filming after 6 weeks and decided, well, we'll turn it into a film, even though they'd not finished doing the end bit. It all went bad, so my expectations are quite low, but I've heard some people say it's better than you're going to expect. So I will watch that at some point over the Christmas break, and I will let you know on the next live stream what I think of it. It's as I say,
and nothing can be as
not
bad as
the
Blood
highest of
Origin.
expectations. Okay,
That was the
let's
worst.
go to let's go to some questions. Lorelei Dragon's saying, I have a question about what is your favorite type of lore to explore in nerdy detail? Politics, economics, social culture, mythology, etc. I've always been fascinated by food and clothing. One of the irritating things about Game of Thrones was the clothes made zero sense in the context of the rest of the world. Well, I mean, probably doesn't surprise most people who watch my videos. One of the things I love doing is the economics and the politics stuff, which is why I've got so many of those videos about Aragorn's tax policy and how did the Shire economy work and things like that. That's just exactly the kind of thing that I enjoy doing. I'll go to Lucas as somebody else who clearly has got a deeply nerdy side to him. Is it the family trees that you enjoy the most, or the maps, or what?
The
What
maps,
is it?
the maps. I'm currently doing a lot of own work on that, but yeah, it's family trees and maps basically. They are fun to make, and there is so much to explore there with the maps themselves, but also with the things that are hidden in the text. It's great.
Excellent. Anyone else got any sort of like nerd things that they go down in sort of like fantasy worlds that they like to sort of dive down deep into?
I'm very very obsessed with mythology and like the deep lore of like when I think I was when I was in 4th grade, I think I read 4 or 5 like really big books about Greek mythology and how in Greek mythology they have stories about how every star was made, and how all the star signs and the stars in the sky was made, and I just love all about it. And also like Norse mythology, Greek mythology, like, and also creatures. I love creatures and the stories about how they came to be, and it goes both ways. Like it's the folk tales and the histories and the stuff that people have been talking about, like why you wake up with messy hair and stuff like that, and how that sort of translates into fantasy stories and books, kind of like Harry Potter. Like I loved reading about the inspirations to why she created the characters as she did. So that sort of stuff gets me really excited.
Why do you wake up with messy hair?
It's
Not
a,
you
it's a little
specifically,
Santa.
but why
Like
does
it's a
one?
little
Yeah,
gnome that I think they called
there's a no.
brownies. I think they're called in Ireland or something. Like they have different names, but
Okay.
they're like little Santa gnomes that live inside your house, and they go and mess around, and they steal all of your stuff too. Like they'll take one of your socks, they'll mess with your hair. It's yeah, it's I think Dobby was semi inspired by these creatures. Yeah, that's why.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good knowledge.
Yeah.
Anyone else that
I
have a
love the
deep dive thing that they?
Yeah, I love the magic aspect and to understand the magic systems and how different they are for different fantasy authors. Is it soft magic or are things like really, really well explained? Can you do this and you mix this and then you get that? I'm totally into that. And yeah, I mean, Tolkien is the best example for that. But also, like, then you have like magic objects, like, Gurtha, like the black sword and stuff like that. So, and does it have a life on its own, or like the ring as an example? So I think they're like really, I love the magic aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Harry, how about you? Are you just about the scoops?
No. One thing when I like to consume fantasy and medieval works is I like also once I read or whilst reading it, trying to understand the scope of these worlds and the stories, also the stories that's being told. So I know when I was younger, I used to love this, and that sounds really nerdy, but like in my own time, just like create own like let's mapping places out of fancy maps, or even when I'm in when reading a piece of work, I'd almost like think in my head, how would this map out onto like an actual map? And I think understanding the scales of these stories is something I think fantasy, helps and achieves so well. And alongside that, also seeing stuff on a timeline, seeing this happen. I think this also hands in hand with Tolkien as well, because of course it's all perfectly broken up by ages. So that's seeing, okay, if this event happened here, and then how long this happened there. So if this long period of time, how important was this period, etc., etc. So it gives you like an understanding and helps you also immerse yourself more into it. So yeah, I think understanding the scope and scale of it through those ways. Yeah, weren't expecting that, Robert.
No, I will hold you in very high estimation. So nothing you say surprises me. We've got another thing. What were you holding up, Helen? I couldn't see that. It was your phone with
Ah,
something on it.
wait, are you
Oh,
wait,
R2D2.
R2D2, yeah. At first I
Nice.
thought it was your
Is
logo in Deep Geek. I was
no,
like,
sadly no.
do you have pop sockets
Um,
now? That's awesome.
yeah, I do have. Hang on, thank you. I should remember because I'm terrible at this. Merch, everyone. Christmas merch.
Yes.
Oh,
Indie
nice.
Geek T-shirt, Christmassy stuff. There's a link somewhere. I'm terrible at remembering to do that, but there we go. Adam in the chat saying, "Is this actually live?" Yes, this is actually live. Carl Karsnark saying, "We need another cool Arthur movie." I would definitely agree with you. I did spot sort of connected to that just recently, and I know no information about this. Is there's a new Robin Hood film coming out called The
Yes,
Death of Robin Hood,
there is.
starring
I'm
Hugh
excited.
Jackman, unrecognizable Hugh Jackman with a massive beard, and Jodie Comer, who is an exceptionally talented actress. And I know no more information about this. Nikki, you're talking about it as if you're saying as if you know what this is. Is this a good thing I should be excited about?
Honestly, I don't know anything any more than you, but I'm excited because I love the Robin Hood story. Everything from like the Disney with the fox, which was actually my first crush, I think. Until like
Aw.
yeah, and then the one with the what's his name, Gerard, the long one that's like 2 hours and really traumatic to watch because there's murders and torture and
Mhm.
everything.
Gerald
I
Butler.
just I think it's a fantastic story, and I'm looking forward to this one because it seems like it's going to be a very different take. Considering the name as well, I'm like, what is this? Yeah, I'm excited.
Yes, me too. As I say, I like it when I discover a thing that's a film or something that I knew nothing about. That it could be great, might not be. Who knows?
There was
But go on.
last year, there was a really awful King Arthur show that came out on ITV, I think with MGM. I think it's called The Winter King. And so they did do actually one last year around King Arthur. But yeah, I only got through like 3-4
I didn't
episodes.
see that.
Yeah, it's
Right. That was a
I
huge
had
hit.
I
a
love that Camelot show. That Camelot show was so good with Eva Green.
yeah, that was good. That was good. I had a favorite, like one of my favorite films when I was a kid was Dragonheart, which is like so niche, so specific. If anyone's
Is that
ever
the one
seen
with
it, but
Sean Connery voicing a dragon?
yes, it is. And I love that dragon so much. He's just, yeah.
and isn't there also that Merlin show from like years ago with that really funny looking dragon?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
who voiced that. I think it was someone quite famous as well. That one just cracks me up looking. It's the BBC Merlin show, I think.
Yes, that was good. I enjoyed that. That was good. Yes, it was somebody.
Sam
It's
Neill?
the actor who was also Ollivander, who in Harry Potter, but did many other great things than that. John Hurt. There we go. Thank you, Terranox Incognita. Let's go. We got a bit distracted there by Robin Hood and King Arthur. Let's do a Lord of the Rings one. Katrina V saying, I'm intrigued by a line of Aragorn's. When introducing the story of Luthien to the hobbits, he says, it is a fair tale, though it is sad, as are all the tales of Middle-earth. Knowing this and the similarity of himself and Arwen to Beren and Luthien, it would seem natural for Aragorn to be pessimistic or fatalistic, to assume his story would be sad too. Instead, he radiates hope. Why do you think that is? Helen?
But Beren and Luthien is actually not sad. They did have a life together. So, and they
But
had a
Aragorn
child.
says the story is sad.
In
Yeah,
the
but
movie.
I know, but in the movie,
Mhm.
Oh, that's in the book.
Okay.
I-
Lucas, you'll have views.
I mean, I think he has to be optimistic because for him to actually marry Arwen, he has to become the king of all the former regions of Gondor and Arnor. And that is his task. His mission is mainly not to destroy the ring. That is a fine side effect of his mission to get to Arwen, because if he doesn't succeed in becoming the king, he doesn't get Arwen. And he also thought when he first saw Arwen that she was Luthien.
Yes, for those who missed the one, this is one of those kind of callbacks that Tolkien does to his own sort of world. Beren and Luthien. When Beren was wanting to marry Luthien, then Luthien's father, the legendary Thingol, who I have many thoughts on, but that for another time.
did nothing wrong. Did
he
nothing wrong.
Thingol may have done one or two things wrong. But anyway, the point is that Thingol set Beren a task to claim one of the Silmarils, which at the time they were embedded in the crown of Morgoth's crown, and he was hiding in the basement of his fortress Angband that had been besieged by this point for a few centuries, and nobody had managed to get in. So this was seen as such a ridiculous thing to be demanding that everybody else around laughed. And obviously Beren did manage to get the Silmaril and marry his love. And Elrond actually kind of echoes that when Aragorn wants to be marrying Arwen, and he says only when you are the king, basically, of the reunited kingdoms of Gondor and Arnor, which at the time, given the fact that Arnor was long gone, and Gondor had very specifically said, we need no king. And then that would also have felt like a pretty hard ask to be going down. So there was a deliberate echo there. The difference was that Elrond thought that Aragorn would do it, as opposed to Thingol, who thought that Beren wouldn't be able to do it. And while I've been talking, just backstage here, Lucas has not created, I think, suddenly put a new, here's another family tree. What are we looking at this time?
I mean, it's the same family tree as before. But now here we can see Lúthien and Mauleon. Mauleon is one in silver. That means she is a Maya. She's the same thing as Gandalf is, as the Balrog is, as Sauron is. And we have this connection here through Lúthien and Beren, the son Geer and Nimloth, where we have some extremely tragic tales. And then we ultimately come to Elrond and his brother Elros, which Harry might have a thing to say about. And they split up here. Elros goes to Númenor, and Elrond, as we know, stays in Middle-earth. And then we come down here on this side to Arwen. And so Arwen is actually the ancestor of Lúthien. And so is Aragorn is also an ancestor of Beren, but there are 62 generations on that side. So I'm probably closer related to anyone here in the stream right now than Arwen is to Aragorn.
Probably to me.
Yeah.
Could be me.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I love those family trees. Yeah, this is one of those things when some people sort of say, "What? Huh? So Aragorn and Arwen, they're related, they're cousins or something." Yeah, but there's so many generations different that it's not a weird thing. We're not talking Targaryens here.
It's 6,000 years, so.
Yeah. Harry, a thing was thrown over to you. I've no idea how much of this is sort of public knowledge and stuff that they're advertising yet. Do we get any kind of Elrond Elros stuff going on with the Rings of Power? Because we did get back. Was it last season or first season? At some point, we saw a big tapestry with the two of them on, didn't we?
Yeah. So in season 1, when Galadriel went over to Númenor, they did see tapestry of both of them there. And again, the second part, it is, I guess, a scoop, so you'd say. So I'm not sure how spoilery it has been. We have released it, but I don't know if it's what are the guidelines of it.
The guidelines are, if this is something that is officially out there by a showrunner or released by Amazon or something like that, then we'll happily talk about that as part of promo materials. If this is something that through your own back channels you've discovered, then we'll say let's pass on that and move on.
And I think the best thing to say is that we'll save it for another day.
Let's save it for another day. Adam in the chat saying Elrond is greater than Thingol. I hope even Helen can agree on that one. She's not sure. No,
What?
He
no
hadn't
comment from
seen the
Helen.
Undying Land, so no.
But think a little
Okay.
racist.
And on that note, I might go to Numenor myself. It's bedtime here in Norway. It's like 1 a.m. So I'm gonna sneak off. And but this has been a lot of
Absolutely.
fun. Thank you
Well,
so much
thank
for
you
having
so
me.
much.
It's been good.
Excellent. No, it's like as I said with Aziz, is there any way you'd like to direct people on the internet as to show people where you are and all your magnificent talent?
I mean, it would be absolutely amazing if you would follow me on Instagram at Miss Bangin, which is not me being cocky, it's actually my surname. And on TikTok, you can find me as nbangin, and you can also find me on YouTube as Miss Bangin. But I do occasional nerdy stuff, but it's more it's broader spectrum, and it's mostly just my journey as an actress and a filmmaker. But if you guys want to follow, I would really appreciate that. So yes, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's been excellent having you, and I will have you back on the channel at any point. So
Looking
you
forward
take
to
care.
it.
We will be going on for you head off to Numenor. Then we will just go for another 10 minutes or so anyway. So it's fantastic to see you.
Yeah, fantastic to be here. And what do we say? Namarie.
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 Okay, let's go in having a quick flick through. Oh, Helen's gone as well.
Then there were 3.
That was unexpected. I didn't realize Helen was going as well, but obviously she has done. If she reappears, then I shall add her back in again. Okay, let's just have a quick, as we've got a moment. Or is that her coming back? No, it's not. Okay. Right. So have a quick flick through the chat. And see if there's got any more questions. Now's a good time to drop questions into the chat when it's just a few of us left here, just the best people left behind. But I will say this is a charity stream. And so if you have been enjoying this, if you've been if you'd like to show your appreciation, or if you are just wish to be generous, then this is in aid of an excellent cause, which is Alzheimer's support. So please do. There is a link down there. If for whatever reason, I don't know why, but there are some parts of the world where YouTube does not have the charity button enabled. If that's you, there's also, I put a link down in the description to it. Helen is now in the chat saying, sorry, internet, will be back. Okay, excellent. Snuck says if she comes back with messy hair, it's the goblins or the brownies, I believe is what we're saying. Let's do. I was going to do this. I thought we might have a couple more people. What are we looking forward to over the course of the next year? I mean, I will start just in terms of sort of pop culture stuff and good stuff. So I will start. I'm really looking forward to United Seven Kingdoms, which is literally just a month away now. Everything I've seen tells me George R. R. Martin is loving what he's seen so far. The trailers, I don't know if you've seen them, but the trailers look great. And the actors, perfect casting. I don't know who does the casting for all the Game of Thrones shows, but they generally are very, very good getting the casting right. So yeah, I'm most looking forward to that, I have to say, even more than House of the Dragon season 3. But Harry, how about you? What do you, if you had to sort of rank this year, what are the things you're most looking forward to?
I think it's there's a battle at the top, and that's between the Odyssey, of course, and Dune Part 3, which I think that's been under the radar. That is also coming out next year. So
that's this year,
and of course,
awesome.
And Night of the Seven Kingdoms, of course, are on top of that as well. And yeah, I think for me with the Odyssey, is starting to maybe start a trend of seeing these type of movies back in the cinemas again. I know during the 2010s there was a period where we got some good and some quite bad, like historical fantasy movies. I know there was one which had one of the Game of Thrones actors in it. I forgot who's Cersei's brother.
Jamie.
Lannister. The actor is Jamie
Oh,
Lannister.
wow.
Yeah, I remember he was
Yeah.
in quite a bad one. But aside from that, I think it's come back with a lot more quality now. And Robert, you even said when you were in Morocco, you got to, I think, see some of the locations. I think it was in Morocco or somewhere else. And then Dune, I think we've seen Timothée Chalamet has been talking quite a lot about Dune Part 3. I think it's going to be like 15 or 17 years set after the second one. And then it also has Robert Pattinson's in the third one as well. He seems to be in everything nowadays. So
As is Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah, exactly, both of them. So, and Zendaya by the looks of it, because she's in both movies as well. So, I think this year looks like it's going to be a strong year for movies. So, yeah, those are my top two things alongside the Knights of Seven Kingdoms that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about. I have to admit, I've forgotten completely about June. That's something that. I've been looking forward to that ever since the last one. Lucas, how about you?
For me, it's more. I am looking forward. I will see it next year, not this year. The new Avatar movie, Fire and Ash. It might. Not for the story, for the 3D. It's interesting, and then it's more real life events. The Tolkien days in May, and the things we do with our local Tolkien group. I just came from a little event from there. We do on the Tolkien reading day, we are reading in the public library and just stuff like that, like a hiking trip with the guys. So yeah, more local stuff.
Excellent. This is very wholesome. It has to be said. I suspect Tolkien would have approved of all of those things. Helen, we're just welcome back. By the way, the internet has returned to Germany. We were just talking about what TV shows, films, whatever are you looking forward to next year? I put forward A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Harry has reminded me that June Part 3 is happening. Lucas is going hiking. What are you looking forward to?
House of the Dragon and Odyssey.
House of the Dragon?
Yeah. Because I love, just like Nikki said before, Greek mythology was my first love, and I love everything Greek mythology. I think we didn't have that many great movies so far, or series. Think of a lot, and there's so much material, so I'm really excited for that.
Helen, what about Rings of Power?
Fuck off.
Keep it positive. I have to say I'm looking forward to House of the Dragon. So the Odyssey, I hadn't realised that was coming out so soon. I'm excited by that, definitely. And whatever this weird Robin Hood thing is, I'm going to have to properly Google that and find out if it is something I'm looking forward to. But yes, House of the Dragon season 3 is up there. Rings of Power. I will definitely be watching it. Let's put it that way. I've always remained hopeful with these things. I know that there's a variety of views on them, yes, always good. All right, so I think with that, people are now commenting on Helen's shutters. They're so German, they're cool.
It's all about
Wow, there we go. So, okay. Let's. I think we'll probably start to wrap this up quite soon. How are we doing? Let's have a quick look at the. I'm going to do one last plug for the charity. This is a charity stream. If you've been sitting here watching this for the last 2 hours or whatever it is. Now is your chance to show your appreciation for the hard work of these wonderful people in front of you, who are excellent and would love you to be donating to Alzheimer's support. So if you could, there's a link down there, or maybe there, I don't know, somewhere. There will be a link for you to be donating. And I probably should have said this at the beginning, because people always ask, 100% of that money goes to the charity. I don't get any of it. YouTube doesn't take any of it. It's just money just goes straight there, which is a really good thing that YouTube have done. I will happily give them credit for that. It's 100% straight through to there. I will sort of say, next 2 weeks, probably there won't be live streams on the Thursday, because next Thursday is Christmas Day. I have other plans. The one after that is New Year's Day. Who knows what I'll be doing, but I like to take a little bit of a break. So I will be back probably on the 8th of January. And probably bursting with new ideas about all lots of different things we're doing. I've got a lot of ideas about where we might be going with the channel and things in the new year, but we'll just let them coalesce in my brain as I relax and spend time with friends and family, and probably some video games. But let's give everybody a chance to say goodbye. So let's start. Where should we start? Helen, you're there. You've still got your reindeer ears on. If people wish to find you on the internet, where can they find you?
Nowhere. A man has no name. A woman has no name. No, yeah, I had a Tolkien channel. I still have it. Haven't uploaded in 4 years or so, 3 years, since I had a child. That is very occupying my life. But it's a close fango, and well, I think I told Robert and maybe Harry and I think Lucas as well. So everybody here. I want to do some videos, but no, I hate editing, so I think I'll go back to maybe once a month, just looking through the camera with either a guest or just myself about cooking. So once a month, I think I can do that. And yeah, that's it. And then I want to say frohe Weihnachten, frohes neues Jahr und auf Wiedersehen.
Excellent. Harry, how about you? Where can people find you on the World Wide Web?
Yes, so on the World Wide Web, you can find our website, www.villagepofans.com. We also have our Twitter page, where a lot of our news and content is as well. We also have YouTube, Village Per Fans, who you've been typing in the comments in the live chat as well. And you can find us on Instagram. We have a Discord where people regularly talk about all these fantasy properties. And yeah, I think, again, it's always a pleasure being on, Robert. So yeah, thank you. And of course, always for a good cause, which makes us even better.
Awesome. Thank you, Harry. The pleasure is all mine, I can assure you. And Lucas, last of all, you and your lovely family trees and maps and everything, where on the interwebs can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, I think. I have Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. If you look for Tolkien Explained or Tolkien Erklärt, where is now more, and soon there will be English content. And yes, thanks for having me.
Excellent, and it's an absolute delight. So please do go and check out his channel. As I say, there's lots of those wonderful family trees and things there, so do go and look at that. So if you have donated, thank you so much. I hugely appreciate it. And I will say once again, moderators, thank you. You've been there all year. I will give you a heartfelt thank you. For fantastic work. It's really you're the people who make the channel, these live streams, what they are. So thank you so much. Patrons, thank you. I will be taking off a couple of weeks. The videos on the main channel will keep coming, do not worry. But in terms of the live streams, I will take a couple of weeks off. But take care, everyone. Have a fantastic, if you celebrate, have a fantastic Christmas and New Year. And if you're watching live, hang on, I'll make everybody disappear because I can point at things then. somewhere around here is going to be a link to other live streams I've done. Somewhere around here is a link to my Patreon page, which is the best way to support this channel if you wish to do so. I've brought everyone back and Harry's disappeared. Oh, there he is again. But that's it. That's it for this time. Take care, everyone. Have a fantastic break if you are having one, and I will see you again soon.